People should expect the real me in this, and probably the me that they've never gotten to know, certainly not in the past few years, where everything is through the lens of the media, as opposed to, hey, it's me. I'm just excited to be myself and talk and be unfiltered, and yeah, it's fun.
Boring.
So the other day, ladies and gentlemen, we covered the shocking, upsetting story of the Meghan Markle podcast Archetypes being dropped by Spotify. You know, when we covered that story, I saw in the comment section that everybody was just so heartbroken at the fact you could no longer hear the interesting things Meghan Markle have to say on our podcast, like this.
When I was 14, I planned my wedding. Not my actual wedding. That would have been a bit harder to imagine.
Imagine running and listening to this. You know, as soon as you turn it on, you turn into one of those zombies out of Call of Duty. But speculation grew very quickly, as you can imagine, as to why they actually dropped the Spotify podcast. You know, the small group of Meghan Markle fans, and I must reiterate very clearly, the small group of Meghan Markle fans that are out there somewhere said this is a perfectly normal thing. You know, Spotify are doing cuts. It's a normal thing to experience. However, we reported on a story, and this is probably most likely the case, it was due to their low productivity. I mean, ask yourself this, right, Meghan Markle fans, if you're watching somehow, if the Spotify podcast was such a hit, it was making loads of money, why would they cancel it? Would they cancel it? No. Anyway, we've got news breaking now surrounding an executive within Spotify coming out and giving his opinion on the whole situation, Bill Simmons, and I can't swear on YouTube, as you all know, but he's come out and called them effing grifters. Wow, who would have guessed? Harry and Meghan called grifters by Spotify executive after podcast deal ends. Last week, the company said it was parting ways with the couple, and now a top executive has hit out at them on his own podcast. A Spotify executive has spoken out about the scrapping of Harry and Meghan's $20 million deal with the streaming service, calling the royal couple effing grifters. Bill Simmons, who is head of podcast innovation and monetization, criticized the pair after it was announced they were being dropped by Spotify for reportedly not creating enough content. But you know, it's the job cuts. It's Spotify just doing cuts. You know, it's a normal thing. Right. He goes on to say, I have got to get drunk one night and tell the story of the Zoom I had with Harry to try and help him with a podcast idea. It was one of my best stories. F them, the grifters. Absolutely hilarious. You know, and when it's coming from an executive within Spotify, it's a big deal. I'm just surprised, and probably you are as well, right, that it took Spotify this long to catch on, because we know 99.9% of the time their claims are exaggerated, fabricated, like when they were chased around New York for 2 hours like it was a film, you know, Fast and Furious, Need for Speed. Totally happened. All their racism claims, you know, for so long they gained so much attention for calling out the royal family, you know, for being racist. And then a few months later, they go on to say, Harry goes on to say, wait, well, no, it wasn't us that called the royal family racist. That was the press. You know, they tried to pull out the Men in Black neuralizer and convince everybody that they didn't say anything at all. I mean, even in the UK, we have an anti-racism activist who I can assure you would make an argument for the weather being racist, coming out and going against them. Anti-racism activist Iman Atom says Prince Harry and Meghan Markle need to go away and go silent. And she's saying this because she believes that Harry and Meghan have actually used the black community for their own gain, for sympathy, support, and now they've dropped them like it means nothing. I mean, when you have somebody like her coming out and going against you, you know the game is up. Okay, and this is what happens when you fake your way into things. The lies can only really uphold themselves for so long. But you've all seen the title of this video, and this is where it reaches absurd levels, because allegedly, according to sources, Meghan Markle faked her own podcast by adding her voice later on after the interview was done. What? The New York Post have gone on to report, Meghan Markle faked podcast interviews, her voice added later, sources have revealed. Just after Spotify's breakup with Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, a new report alleges that Markle's interviews for her Archetypes podcast were not conducted by her. Pod News reported that some of the show's interviews were done by members of the Duchess's staff, and audio of her voice asking the questions were clipped in later. The Post has reached out to representatives from Markle and Archwell Audio for comment. Imagine that. Imagine starting a podcast because you feel so deeply about the labels holding women back that you don't even turn up to your own podcast, you add your voice in later on. I mean, clearly it was all about the money, and it's an extra level of commitment if I ever saw it. right? Speculation that Markle doesn't directly interview her guests started circulating when writer Alison Yarrow shared on Instagram in August that she was excited to be included in the Visionary series. Yet the post showed Yarrow posing in front of a sign for the audio production house Gimlet Media and included thanks to an Archetypes producer for being an excellent interviewer. Look, I for one have a big issue with people taking credit for work they didn't do, claiming they worked really hard on a project when it was somebody else in the background. It's almost like, at school when you do all the work in the project and that kid who doesn't turn up for the whole thing comes in and says, yeah, you know what, I'm taking credit for this as well, and they get the full grades for it. I mean, even people on this podcast seem to not work that hard anyway, but she still took credit for it. And it clearly shows, as we've stated, that she doesn't care about what she wanted to speak about, the labels that hold women back. Her intentions have always been about the money, the monetization, as they always have been. Since the very beginning, every situation she has monetized and managed to earn money from it, right? And that agenda has lost her and her husband a load of respect, and let's be honest, has cost Harry a functional relationship with his family, because if he married, got with another woman, do you think we'd be seeing this? Probably not. But let's be honest, Spotify have to take some of the blame here, because they're the ones in the beginning who hired Meghan and Harry. They're the ones that paid $20 million solely for the name, and probably in the hope that something controversial would come from it so they could generate more revenue, more money. And they didn't hire them based on talent and hard work, because there's none there. The only people around them that do any hard work is probably their PR team that goes into overdrive monthly. If we got offered $20 million, we would work extremely hard to make sure in the future we still get things from it, right? To maybe even get a bigger contract. But with these two, it just seems like, they expected to do no work whatsoever. They got $20 million. Oh yeah, I'll take that, thank you. They get home and they think to themselves, wait, we've actually got to put work into this? Nobody's going to do it for us. I actually have to turn up and speak at this podcast. That's too much work for me. I only like it when the press are following me and taking pictures of me in an apparent 2-hour car chase. I can't sit down and put any work in. I mean, they're fully getting what they deserve, right? But that is the end of the video, ladies and gentlemen. If you have enjoyed today, please for me, make sure to leave a like rating, leave your comments down below about this whole story. Are you surprised by this? I would love to know. If you're new, hit that subscribe button and turn on bell notifications so you never miss a video. But until next time, until tomorrow, it has been your boy JD. Have a great day, stay safe, and I'm out. Peace.